Hello everyone and welcome back to Ero Pc2, where today we are at Interlagos, Brazil for the final race of the season. I'm joined today by Adam Lapidge.
Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are.
Alright. Just make sure everything's alright on the stream. Then
We
are
do
off to
have some guys now just heading out on track for their first qualifying lap. Georgios is in front, just on his way out of pit exit now. So Interlagos is a very quick sweeping track, but it's also quite a short lap. So you can do 2 laps provided on the same set of soft tyres, provided you keep them in the window on your first lap. And you don't want to heat them overly highly on the out lap because then they will be dead by the time you're coming through Johnstown at the end of the lap. So it's quite a fine balancing act here to get the perfect lap. And obviously, at the start of the session, the track isn't rubbered in, so that's going to mean that time should tumble as we come down. Although it is looking quite grey out there, so there is the possibility of some rain a bit later.
I was going to say, it doesn't look like it's going to stay dry out there. There's a lot of clouds and it's quite dark, but I think the drivers will be hoping that those clouds clear rather than bring any rain. Although some drivers might, they might want some rain.
Yeah, I mean, though nobody wants it to. I don't think anybody's really going to want it to start raining after everyone's got a lap in, because that's basically going to stop you improving at all. But people might have wanted it to be a wet quali. They may have done more practice in the rain. They might be more comfortable in the rain. Of course, Wet Brazil was a Season 6 trial track. As George is just heading his way now down the Ero Pc2 and into the Cidade do Lago, taking the actual racing track, not 17 car lengths wide of it, so that's nice to see. But he does invalidate his lap in the second part at turn 5, which is unfortunate. But Greg's right behind him, and he's managed to keep it clean through the Cidade do Lago. So he drops through here Ferradura and Larrahinha as he comes down the hill. It's a very tricky traction zone here into Perrigino, but he manages to upshift, keep it off facing the right way, all 4 wheels still pointing in the correct direction, through Bico de Pato, which is the translation of Duck's Bill, which is pretty great, and flat through Magulo and here into Junsao, also renamed as Is That Glock, as he makes his way now up the hill, up the long pit, not really a straight pit curve, we'll call it, opens his DRS and keeps it tight on the way to the line to minimise the distance, and starts us off with a 1.8.1, but Pavel instantly goes fastest behind with a 1.77, which is a decent lap for a first lap. As Tuka also does a 7.7, yeah.
7.7. We have Jacob, who's gone just behind his teammate Greg on a 1.08.2. So the Ferraris, it's similar in pace, it seems, as the first run of these sessions are concluding for a few people, which is ideal if they can qualify near each other to give each other a boost in the race. But there is rain dropping.
Ooh,
there is rain falling.
Oh dear.
This is going to
so that might be all they wrote. That might be all she wrote for qualifying. There's still the possibility to go a little faster until it gets, heavy. But Interlagos is the kind of place where it can rain and still be blazing sun. So, oh yeah, I'm definitely seeing some drops.
Yeah.
From on board with Sven, and which is really going to be a problem for Cody. Cody actually came out to start a lap and was right behind Jacob, probably a little too close. Will have been affected by the and actually invalidate his lap in the center S at turn 2. So this could have been a really good lap and one that would have been really important for Cody. The rain obviously not heavy enough yet to affect that time, and he's not fueled the car for 2 flyers, so he's going to have to come back in and pit, which is going to drop him. Well, I think it's unlikely many people right now are going to get in the 107s and get in that sort of top couple. So we might end up with a grid of Pavel, Tuka, Darrell. There might be very little in the way of improvement coming, depending on how hard this rain falls. If it stops at any point. It is very, very light, so it could just be a very brief couple of minute light rain shower and not really affect qualifying all that much. But it could get heavier, or just be persistent like this and make the track not wet but greasy. So you would still be on softs, you would still be on the slick tyres, but you would have significantly less traction coming out of the corners. And there's quite a lot of slow corners here, especially in S2.
I mean, they're going to have to hope that if they want to challenge the times up top, that the rain does hold off or not get any worse, as there's still people who haven't set a lap, which isn't ideal,
Yeah.
as Robbie's also invalidated, which means he's not going to get to set a lap either. But he's out on track and has enough fuel for another flyer.
I'm on board with Paolo right now, and there are some wet patches starting to form on the track in Sector 2, and it's just making the car very, very difficult to turn. He's gone completely off track to try and get out of the way of some of the guys behind him, but he was already having troubles getting the power down, keeping the rear end in check through Sector 2 anyway. You can see the track now is visibly getting wetter. So I don't think anyone's going to get in the 107s, maybe even in the 108s at this point. So our top 8 or 9 might be set.
Robbie's really struggling in these very greasy conditions out on track currently, as the rain does not seem like it's gonna it's still quite light, but it's had a massive effect on the track. And there's DRS disabled to show that it's now too wet for anything. So that means laps are going to be, well, Robbie's
so AI Michael Massey has decided that it is into conditions at this point, which was pretty quick, considering it wasn't really throwing it down. It was spitting. It looked like that fine rain that soaks you. But I think Robbie's going to probably just finish this lap, just get some sort of time on the board, which we'll put in P11. It's a long way off the fast guys, obviously, but the track now being wet is obviously going to make that difficult. And he's lost it in turn 1.
Look, quite intentionally, just slammed the accelerator on there and just spun it around. Cody's decided to not even bother on his mediums. And we have George out on inters. Maybe...
he might be able to go fast. He might be able to go faster than Robbie, maybe.
It's going to be close.
But it's not going to be in the top 10. Ooh. There's a bit of a moment through Vico de Pato. It's one of the hardest traction zones. It's probably the hardest traction zone on the track to get right, and I would say one of the hardest on the calendar.
Yeah.
If we ignore turn 8 at Portimao, obviously.
Yep.
Because that thing's a monster.
And he's not even bothering.
Yeah, no. Decided not to go. So this could be a bit anticlimactic, really.
Might have 10 minutes just sit around almost, because it's quality's basically over. I guess people are just going to do a few practice laps on inters, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good idea if you've not done too much in the way of practice on the intermediates, because obviously time trials, it's slicks off all wets. So there might be quite a few guys that haven't really done anything on the inters. And we could get a little battle here between Cody, David and Georgios, who haven't set laps yet. They choose to go out on their intermediates.
I was going to
see who's
point out the fact that quite a few people are actually going out on inters suggests that maybe these conditions are going to be in the race as well. So, because a lot of the time you won't see people actually go out on inters if the race is going to be dry. So obviously don't need to practice that. But considering that quite a few cars are rate, maybe they'll either just want to cure the boredom or actually get some practice in ready for the race.
I mean, it's definitely possible. Interlagos is the kind of place where it does rain quite often, which is weird when you consider all the pictures you see of Brazil on the TV and stuff. It's like, here's women in bikinis and men in only shorts because it's 39 degrees. And then suddenly it's raining. Oh dear. Out of Vico de Pato. I mean, it's an easy place to bin it, let's be honest.
Yep. Horrible traction at the corner, and especially when you're on inters. On a track that's just slowly getting wetter and wetter, not ideal. Tuca's
fighting the car through the Center S and through Curva de Sol, so you can see the traction is really difficult.
We're gonna, I wonder who's going to get 12th at the battle of Cody, David and George, who only have access to inters now. I mean, I assume they'll obviously want to set laps to go, just get the extra positions on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, Cody's about to start a lap now, so provided he doesn't invalidate it, provided he keeps it clean, although he is a little close to Jacob, but Dirty has less of a factor when it's wet. He's invalidated it again at Sector 2. At Turn 2, sorry. So, yeah, Cody's just not quite lining that Turn 2 up right. But it is an easy corner to invalidate on.
We have David
the number of time trial laps
who's going to give us a clue to what the times are on inters. Only 1 second off what Robbie did, but finding that second will probably be difficult to catch up to him.
Yeah, unless it stops raining, because the track's just going to get wetter and wetter. And David's spun it in turn 2 as well. So the track's just going to get wetter and wetter, which is going to make it
slower,
increasingly more difficult to set competitive lap times with these guys that have already set times on inters and softs.
Yeah,
so, I mean, Robbie's obviously was on softs, but on a wet track, whereas David's was full inters, so you can sort of see the difference there.
For a
the rain's made as much as anything else.
The sort of laps that they're doing, Paolo did a 124 and Tuca's done a 116. So, Tuca's nearly lost it, but it's not like it particularly matters for him, as, you know, he's already done his lap. But it seems like even if some of these guys like David, Cody and George were able to set decent interlaps, it doesn't seem like they'll have enough speed to be able to just about match Robbie's 16.2. So he might have just about kept that position.
I think Robbie's the only one that's even slightly realistically in range as well. I think the top 10 will be set as Pavel, Tuca, Darrell, even though he binned it. People just can't improve. And then the two Ferraris of Greg and Jacob, Lassie, Raphael, Alex, Sven, and Paolo. I don't think anybody else can even remotely get close to a 110.5 that Paolo currently has in 10th. Robbie's a possibility that one of them could get in front, but you're still looking at the back 4 positions. But the good thing is, though, the top 10, because they set their lap times on softs, those are the tyres that they will have to start the race on. Whereas the guys further back will have free choice. So you're still going to get that bonus. It's not completely wet qualifying, because you did have that one run on the dry tyres. So you are still going to have that advantage for being in the bottom 4, which is quite an advantage around here, because you can do a medium to soft one-stop strategy, but softs to mediums is quite tricky, because the softs just melt with a full fuel load around here, whereas the mediums are a lot more sturdy when you're talking about sort of wear on a full fuel load.
Cody's completed his lap, and it seems like he's about the same pace as David, but David is currently 3/10 up on his lap, which still won't put him ahead of Robbie, but puts him at least a bit closer. So maybe if he can hook up a lap almost perfectly, it'd have to be, he might be able to just about pip him for that 11th position. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, as he does a 16.6. So that it's definitely possible, but I just don't.
You would have to really hook a lap up to get low 16s here. Which is, you know, possible in time trial, but I think in qualifying, where the conditions are ever changing, it will be difficult to really just hook one up and get it all right and not lose traction anywhere and not run wide anywhere. Obviously, all your braking points change when it's raining, and as the rain gets heavier and the track gets wetter, all your braking points are just moving further and further and further away from the corner, which is where the majority of the time loss is between wet running and dry running. He's just having to brake so much earlier.
The Mercedes of George has binned it after setting a 16.5, which puts him ahead of David and Cody, but again not quite quick enough to get up to Robbie's pace that he'd set on that one soft lap right at the changing point.
Oh yeah, he's had a big moment out of the centre S to bid it there.
I think with this, obviously the rain's now slightly heavier. It's getting to the point where intertimes are also going to be slowing down. So I'd say at this point,
we're definitely not at full wets. Yeah, definitely not at full wets, but it's probably at the point now where the intermediates are going to be trying to clear a little bit of that standing water, which is going to slow them down. It's just going to essentially remove any grip you've got until the downforce kicks in and starts pushing the car into the track. So when you're at the sort of slow exits of corners, you're just not going to have the traction on the rear tyres to get any kind of power down. But I suppose this is one of the disadvantages, really, of some of the assist allowances in PC2 compared to PC1, because you are allowed an automatic gearbox, and the best way to maintain traction on a wet track is to short shift. So some of these guys won't be shifting their own gears, they'll be allowing the game to do it for them, which is then going to make it difficult for them to sort of get the power down out of corners.
Cody
Robbie's currently doing high 16s. Yeah, Robbie's doing high 16s as well, so it might not be as wet as it looks. It looks a lot wetter than it is, probably.
I think, especially considering Cody's now managed to get that gap slightly lower, maybe the lap times should be going up, but maybe it's counteracting with the fact that a lot of them have probably put extra fuel so they can do a few runs on the inters. So as they wear off a little of that fuel, it's coming down like a tenth each time.
Yeah, I mean, the inters last a long time around here, and as you get more confident in the conditions, if they're not really changing under the tyres, if you're drying the track out with the car as fast as the rain's falling and wetting it off up again, then you gain more confidence, you understand where the limit of traction is, where the best lines are. So you see Robbie's just taken Bico de Pato with basically an entirely different line to what you would take in the dry, but it gave him a really good exit and really good traction. Which gave him a good run through Magulio and into Junzhou. He's had a little bit of a moment on the exit of Junzhou, but you're going to be losing speed up here anyway because you don't have the DRS anymore. So it's possible that he's actually going to... Yeah, he's only a tenth and a half down on the time he set on the softs. So... But the track doesn't seem to be really slowing down any more so than it already had. But he invalidates on the entry into Curva del Sol, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think now with 1 minute 30, it seems like that's pretty much everyone finished for this session as Robbie retires on track. And Lasse had to take avoiding action then on the car that
This is why we tell people don't retire on track. This is why we tell you to drive back to the pits and retire there. If the game then decides to drive you out, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. That's a known bug that's been in the F1 games for a while. Where you retire, the AI takes control of your car and goes, yeah, let's go out for a lap. This sounds like fun. Oh, wait, the driver's retired, and then just pulls off at like turn 2. But if you retire on track, you just, until the AI decides to pull over to the side of the track, you're just in the way. And Lasse had to massively compromise his line through Destino del Lago.
I'm interested to see if, with these last few people doing laps on inters, if any of them actually match the 16.2 of Robbie on what he did on the softs right at the end, to see if anyone would have actually matched that on inters. Tuka's out on mediums, so I mean,
of course he is.
You know. Best tire for the conditions, I'd say, personally.
Now, the lowest time anybody's managed on the intermediate is a 16.3, which was also Robbie. So nobody's got under that 16.2, even the guys that already had a faster time. So the 16.3 that Robbie did on his inters was the fastest time anybody's managed on those tires. So Robbie was safe in 11th anyway. As we just wait for the guys that are out on track to finish their running. Raphael's on a lap, but he set a time on the dries with a 1:08.9, so he'll be in 7th because nobody's going to catch that. But he's going to finish his lap, so we don't have to wait for the pit entry animation, which is the good. So maybe he's thinking he won't need these intermediates for the race. Although I'm fairly sure you can do a 0 stop around here if it's intermediate conditions the whole way.
Probably. I mean, the tyre wear is very low on inters, so I'd say it's easily possible.
I don't think it's going to be similar to sort of like Imola, where the full race is, I believe, 61 laps, and the game says the intermediates will do 95 laps. So you could just do a race and a half and it'll be fine. So they just never wear. But the intermediates tend to be about as hardy as the hard tyres. In terms of the number of laps they can do. So you should be able to do a whole race on inters if it's intermediate conditions. But that does set the grid. Ooh, Alex in the Williams actually was on the medium, so he gets a start with that alternate strategy in P8.
Obviously, considering that...
Yeah, so he maybe predicted the rain more than anybody else and was like, doesn't really matter what lap time I get, my position, as long as I'm in that top 10.
True. And also it could be tactical.
And Tuka. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It didn't really matter whether he was sort of P4 or P8 or P10 or something, because people weren't going to improve their times if the rain was coming.
Then you've got the potential for rain in the race if it's not immediate as well. So Could
Yeah,
shake
if it
things up.
rains around about lap sort of 17, 18, by that point the guys on the softs will have had to get off those tyres, or they'll just be complete sitting ducks to anybody. You could pit on like lap 12 and catch someone by lap 18 if they decide to stay on the softs. But you've also then got, so you're basically making up a free pit stop there by being on the mediums, and they're actually not that much slower than the softs after the first 3 or 4 laps. The
Well,
soft tyres burn the edge of their rubber off quite quickly.
well, it seems as if, well, it's looking like
But
there's
it's
barely
sunny
any
for
clouds in
now.
the sky, so
Yeah. It's sunny for now, but this is Interlagos, so you
could
never know.
change
Yeah.
at any
I'm pretty sure it was
point.
sunny I'm pretty sure it was sunny at the start of the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2007. And we all know how in 2008, sorry. We all know how that ended.
Yep.
So Pavel leads him away for the formation lap with Tuka behind him. Already confirmed champion of PC2 for this season. So he'll just be looking to show his dominance, I think. Get a really good finish. Then Darrell's up in P3, which might be his best qualifying of the season. I'm not sure. He's done the job there. Very good position. Followed by the 2 Ferraris of Greg and then Jacob. Lassie and Haas. And then the Mercedes of Raphael. The Williams of Alex, who is starting on the medium tyres. The only person in the top 10 who did his qualifying lap on the medium tyres. Sven in the AlphaTauri. And Paolo in the second Williams. So a split strategy as well from Williams. Which is going to be good for them. And then further back, 11th and 12th, we've got the Red Bulls of Robbie and Cody. Both on medium tyres. Obviously, outside the top 10, they get free choice. You've got Georgios in the second Mercedes, who's opted for the softs, so he'll be looking to make up positions early. Maybe thinking there's going to be an early safety car. He can make up 3 or 4 places off the line, and then just profit from that with that early safety car. And then David's following everybody else around in the sole Alfa Romeo, who has also chosen the medium tyres. And he's doing a bit of a Lewis here. He's going very, very slowly and chilling everybody else's tyres out when they get to the grid.
The 2 Red Bulls were already quite far back, but David's
in another postcode.
He's not even.
If this was Silverstone, he would actually be in another county.
Yeah.
Silverstone straddles counties. So everybody else is already on the grid, and he's just coming around turn 14, so be to the boxes now. So here we go. Look, there's an Alfa Romeo in the background.
Everyone's tyres at the front are probably going to be stone cold, so they might as well just sat on the grid. There was no point with that formation lap.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
And nobody gives me a camera where I can see the lights. That's nice. So I'm going to have to
Brilliant.
ride on board with someone to see them. Yay! 1 light, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And we're going Brazil for PC2. And Tuka gets a really good start, but he's going to get down the inside of Pavel into turn 1. And Pavel's going to fight it back, though, through the second part of the Centeresses. And we've got contact behind.
And
Darrell's in a wall.
out.
And Darrell's out. Oh, contact with Greg, as Greg tried to get a bit
VSC.
dicey.
And
turn 3, and
boy, in the back end, that's an Alfa Romeo and a
contact down the
Williams.
Ero Pc2. That's a big crash.
Somehow
And Alex
David
is out as
survived
well.
that.
Yeah, but he just got a 5-second penalty. But Alex is out from a pretty major crash, so that alternate strategy is not going to pay off.
And that's
So that's 2 retirements by turn 4, and we immediately have a safety car.
complete carnage straight off the line in sector 1 alone. 2 DNFs.
Stop stealing my
immediately.
words. Yeah, we didn't even get to sector 2, and Burt Maylander's now pulled up on the Ero Pc2, and he's going to wait for these guys to come all the way around. I wonder if anybody on the softs is going to choose to pit after that start. Obviously, the guys with damage are going to have to pit. I'm not sure if Greg's got front wing damage from that contact. Take a look. No, his front wing all seems intact. But David doesn't have a front wing, so he's going to have to pit. But he's already on those medium tyres. So he's going to have a brand new set of mediums, because obviously they didn't use them in qualifying. And he's going to have a set of hards, and probably 4 sets of softs. I don't think David went out at all on the dry tyres, so...
Lasse and Jacob, who've opted to get off of the softs, as well as Raphael. Then obviously David's coming in because he has no front wing. So
Alex kind of took that with him on the way to See our good friend Barry
getting a
R.
front wing change as well.
Okay,
So
he must have picked up a little knock there. Maybe lost an end plate. So David serves his 5-second penalty for the contact, so he can't get that removed. I'm not even sure how that works in terms of the stewarding as well, whether that's going to be a case of they won't give him an additional penalty because the game already did, even though he served it in the pits. And Lassie and Jacob have actually gone on the hard tyres. But pretty sure they, A, won't make it to the end, and B, are very, very slow around here. You lose buckets of time in Sector 2.
Off the start, there has been a lot of position changes as we have 2 people who have gone up by 8 places, with Robbie in the Red Bull and George in the Mercedes, who have both gone up 8 places. So
yeah, in the midst of that, I missed Robbie going from outside the top 10 and free choice of tyres to the podium in 3 corners, and David spun. I'll try to catch up to the safety car, but he manages to keep out of any walls. There's a lot of grass around here you can lose the car onto. But he spins on the way through Ferradura and decides to take a bit of a detour, a bit of a lawnmower excursion. He's going to have to be careful with those tyres now because they're going to be very hot. They'd only just come out of the blankets in the pits. And we're probably... He should be on the back of the pack this lap, though, before they reach the start of Sector 3, which is just between Magulo and Jungsao. So this should be our last safety car lap. Safety car's quite slow around here. A lot of sort of twisty corners, and obviously without it having any downforce, it's not what you call a quick car. So Pavel's already handled the start quite well, managed to fight back with Tuka through turn 2. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages to handle a safety car restart with Tuka right behind him as well. As Tuka gets very, very close coming through Descida del Lago. Almost lost some bits of front wing there. Which isn't something he wants to do. The thing nobody seems to do in PC2, I've noticed as well, whenever there's a safety car, is nobody really leaves a lot of space between themselves and the car in front.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying anybody should brake check, but
yeah.
you know, it happens. Somebody in front taps the brakes because the safety car's a bit slower than they thought, and it sort of cascades its way down the pack, and you get sort of a compression effect further down.
Yeah, I think across a lot of the races we've seen many 5-second penalties handed out for collisions under safety cars, as sometimes it just doesn't seem to go right, and with the domino effect of the safety car slowing down,
and
it causes confusion.
But turns his lights off, and he is in this lap, so Pavel's going to now back them up on the way up this straight, let him get away. I think it's probable that he's going to go as late as possible.
Yeah, probably.
To not give Tuka a slipstream and a slingshot effect, essentially, into the center S. But he might go a little early, maybe try and catch Tuka out. As he is increasing his speed, which is going to stretch the pack out, so he needs to be careful not to brake heavily. And he's gone at pit entry. And there's a 5-second penalty behind for Cody and Paolo as they make contact just on the restart. Pavel's managed to hold his place. He leads into turn 1. And Greg's managed to get down the inside of Georgios. And will take P4. P place against Georgios. And we've got a yellow flag in the back as Jacob's around through Curva del Sol through turn 3.
Tuka thought better of the move on Pavel there. Could have been serious.
Well, we have seen Pavel's defending tactics, so Tuka could have been in the lake if he'd have tried it there.
Potentially.
Pavel leads though into sector 2. It's difficult to make a move here unless you're like already alongside someone essentially. Tuka's just 3/10 behind him though. And these two have managed to build about a second of a gap back to Robbie, but Robbie is on those medium tyres, so he'll be looking to defend his position as much as possible and go long into the race. Put the softs on later and really come at pace at these guys.
I think a lot of the guys behind him though, they're going to have to almost just try and force their way through as quick as possible to prevent the front two from just completely running away with this. As if they get
David's managed to make a move. Yeah, David managed to make a move on Paolo. Somehow through Magulio, so I don't know if he's driven clean around the outside of him with a better exit from Bico de Pato. But that's a crazy place to make an overtake. Paolo's actually pitting, so I wonder if he had front wing damage, which is what allowed David to do that.
Or he could be
And
going to the end. Does he have front wing
yeah,
damage? Yeah. He's serving his
without
5-second penalty.
yeah.
So
Well, he'd already served. Yeah, he'd already served that. Oh, Paolo, yes, yeah.
it's
Great on
Paolo,
the safety car. Yeah.
yeah, so he
Yeah,
had
Greg
damage.
manages to jump Robbie, so he's up into P3. He's gonna take off after these top two. And George tries a bit of a dive bomb into La Rahinha, but he manages to keep the place. Yeah, just sort of parked the car on the apex, and Robbie couldn't turn in. And now we've got the two Red Bulls lying nose to stern.
They're both
Paolo
on
is
medium,
just
so
exiting the pits. Yeah, Paolo's only just exited the pits, so the time he lost with whatever damage he had, and then the front wing change in the pits, basically put him like half a lap down.
it's just
on
the
these
nature
guys.
of the short lap that is Brazil, as they're now lapping low 110s.
Yeah, Tuca's tucked up in the slipstream, but he's saving his ERS. Pavel's down at around 55%, Tuca's up almost 80, and DRS is now open, so he's going to get this help to give him a drag down into the Cida del Lago, but he thinks better of the move again.
I think
As Pavel kept his line. Pavel didn't weave under braking or go defensive. Tuca just thought better of it. It wasn't close enough to really try anything without it being a complete dive bomb from from Narnia.
unless you get a really good run through the first few turns, I don't think there's any point trying to make a move into the corner, as it's not particularly the greatest for overtaking, as it sort of cuts in as a way where either one of you, at least one of you, is going to go off track with how tight the corner is. So
I mean,
realistically,
or
making a
both
move
of you,
there,
but provided you go 2 car widths off, that's fine. Like, there's no penalty for that.
yeah.
So just essentially do what you want. I mean, you can dump your battery in there. We saw in real life F1 Sergio Perez fought back at Lewis because he dumped his battery down into the Cida del Lago. So you can do that, but if you're looking to save your ERS, yeah, your best chance is a move, just like Tuca's done into turn 1.
Pavel's got a very nice run though.
Pavel's got a good run. He's tucked up right behind Tuca, but Tuca's deploying his battery defensively, but Pavel's still going to get the run here with DRS. Down the inside, and Tuca goes off track, but manages to fight it.
They're still side by side.
Side by side on the way into Ferradura, but the inside line's going to give Tuca the position, and he's going to keep it. Had to fight for half a lap, but he did manage to make the place up. But this fighting is bringing Greg and Georgios a little bit closer. Just 1.4 the gap now from the front two to this chasing pair. And there's been a swap at Red Bull as well. Cody's got ahead of Robbie and has built a second gap. So he's trying to chase after these guys, keep the gap to a minimum until their soft tyres start to die off.
I think
we did have a couple laps in the safety car, so a soft medium one stop now is not too difficult. But Cody's sideways. Cody's around at Junsao. And he's taking a interesting detour over the grass. And that's going to drop him all the way to the back of the points. It's going to drop him into 10th place. As Raphael and Robbie are now going side by side into turn 1. Robbie brakes later, but Raphael gets a better exit through turn 1. He's going to fight it through Curva del Sol. And he gets in front for the Retaposta. And he also has the DRS.
Yeah.
Good timing for that
Pavel
overtake.
Gets a 3-second penalty, with that being the first full track limits breaching of the race.
Yeah. So
Not
he's
ideal
really
at an
pushing
early
to try and keep
stage.
the Tuca. Really pushing to try and keep the Tuca. It's quite an easy track limits track here, though. It's quite easy to invalidate your lap. I do it all the time. But all of this fighting up in front, though, has allowed David to make his way all the way up to P7 after being last at the safety car restart. So he's had a really good few laps. After quite a shocking first lap, if we're being totally honest. And he's going to get a bit of a run here on Robbie. He can't possibly try another move around Magulio, but he might try it under brakes into Junsao. Just too far back. But it's going to give him a good slipstream. He's going to deploy some battery here up the pit straight, curve, whatever. But Robbie is also going to have the DRS, so he's not going to have a huge overspeed, but I think he's going to try it. Robbie goes defensive. David's going to try and get round the outside through the center S's.
Robbie's almost hitting to Raphael there under braking.
Yeah, Robbie brakes very late and keeps the place, but David's going to have another dose of DRS here down into the Cida del Lago. And he might be able to make the move here on Robbie.
Robbie's getting a strong slipstream off Raphael, which has kept him far
Pavel
ahead.
gets down the inside of Tuca on the way into Ferradura, but Tuca's going to fight it on the outside.
Pavel
And into
dives off his
Larahinia.
inside,
Pavel
and
gets
he's kept
inside,
back.
and he's just going to park it on the apex in Perahino and keeps the place. So Pavel manages to fight back for the lead of the race. But again, it's going to bring the guys behind closer, just 1.2 the gap now from Tuka back to Georgios. So they're almost in their DRS. Come and latch onto the back of this front two if they keep fighting.
I
George
think
and Greg
if I was one of the cars behind George or Greg, if I couldn't, if saying like a few laps time, still not in the DRS range, I'd go for an undercut and try almost force your way into the DRS range with that slight bit of time you'll save on the mediums as George.
Yeah, the problem you've got with that, is the PC1 race here last year. We had a virtual safety car on lap 9, and I decided to pit and put the mediums on, and I was in puncture territory for the last 2 laps. Managed to get away with it, didn't get a puncture, but you can't pit too early because the tyres just don't last long enough.
Tuka and Pavel again fighting as Tuka went round the outside. Looked like it made the move, but Pavel dived straight back up the inside, and Pavel's managed to keep the position for now. And that's now brought Georgios into the DRS along with Greg, so this two-way fight could
now a four-way fight.
Yeah, could definitely change, but the gap for DRS is very close, so they're going to need a good exit, and I think they're both going to keep in the DRS.
Yeah, so George gets a really good exit, spends some battery to make sure he gets that straight line advantage with the rear wing of 85.2mm gap. And Tuka's weaving around trying to find a place he can get down the inside of Pavel, maybe into turn 1, but Pavel holds his line. And this is going to give Tuka the DRS again down into Descida del Lago.
The battery difference.
And Pavel's going to go defensive.
Pavel's already ridiculous. As we know,
Pavel's been spending a lot to defend here. And just squeezes Tuka right to the edge of the track, and there's contact through turn 5.
To let him through, and that also means
Georgios, that's
opportunistic. Up the inside there with cheeky move.
Pavel's going to try. Ooh, he had a look. He had to think about it.
Into Georgios's back right tyre.
Yeah, and now Jacob gets 3-second time penalty for corners as well. He'll be looking to go to the end on those hard tyres down in P8 at the moment. He's got a 3.5-second lead over Lassie, who's also probably looking to go to the end on the hard tyres. So these two in their own little race.
Could have given Tuka a chance to get away with those two, with Georgios having to go defensive to block Pavel. But Tuka had a bit of a moment, which has brought Georgios to stick within his DRS, as Pavel behind Georgios not close enough, and Tuka seems to he's deployed a bit of his battery and is able to keep
Greg's got the best seat in the house here, and while we've got these 4 at the front all fighting it out and seeing where they can find time on each other and duking it through, mostly through sector 2, which is the place you wouldn't expect overtakes, but you can run side by side for quite a lot of it. Right behind those guys, we've got Raphael, David, and Robbie, who are all together on track as well. Raphael on medium tyres that he put on at the safety car, David on softs he put on at the safety car, and Robbie on the mediums he was on at the start of the race. And Raphael currently leads this little group of 3, so we've currently got 2nd and 5th for Mercedes, which is really good, because I believe they're either last or second last in the Constructors for PC2, so if they can end the season on a high, that'll be really good for their points haul.
Well,
and obviously when you're far down the Constructors and you're looking at 45, maybe 100 points for the season, being able to collect like they'd get right now, being able to get 28 points is massive. It's a huge amount.
What I've noticed is in this train of 4 at the front, Greg actually has the most battery left, which could definitely play into his hands, as he's just sitting in the background watching these fight, and if he ever gets close to dropping out of the DRS range, well, he's got the extra battery, so
you can just spend some battery through out of Bica de Pato and catch up through Magulio.
It looks like we've had a collision, as Lassie's got no front wing, and Jacob has does he have a front wing?
Doesn't appear to have any damage. Jacob appears to be alright. David Powell pits, and he's going to put some mediums on. So this is going to be a 3-stop strategy, possibly. He might be trying to stretch these out to the end. They're going to be quick for the first sort of maybe 10-15 laps. But after that, they're just going to be dead, or square, or both. So he's going to have to use a bit of tyre management. But he did make the one-stop strategy come off in France earlier this year, which got him his race win.
George
So he's definitely capable of
great
tyre
run
management.
on Tuca with an insane amount of straight line speed in comparison to the Aston Martin, and has made that move easily and just parked on the apex to prevent Tuca from getting back through. But Tuca with his extra battery can definitely make an impact to get back the place, but there's no space for him to get through as George parks his car in the middle of the track, and Tuca also wasn't deploying the battery either. So we now have a fight.
Yeah, Georgios basically emptied his battery to make that overtake, and Tuca's sitting on a decent amount, 65% at the moment.
So we had a fight for 8th as David manages to get around the outside of Jacob, but Jacob was all over the curb there, which wasn't ideal out of the centre S's.
So the boys giving Lassie a new front wing, which probably isn't good for their budget because Haas have no money.
We have
and he's tried to
Pavel
put the sub tyres on, so we will
with
be stopping again.
a run on Tuca, and they've also both got a run on George in the Mercedes. Is going to be 3 wide, not quite. And there's contact. Pavel's nearly reined as George hits both of them.
Hold that. Tuca takes the lead.
And
well, it's going to be Georgios that's got the DRS here, not Tuca. And he's going to take a run at him, and he's going to have a go into the Cedar del Lago. There's a little bit of contact on entry. Georgios manages to keep the lead.
Greg's still happy with just sitting and watching.
Yeah, Greg's just chilling at this point. Greg's rubbing his hands at the prospects of this.
His tyres are going to be way better than all of the cars in front. As much as he had dirty air, he hasn't been fighting as much into the corners, so he's just been able to take his own pace and probably manage the tyres to go longer if he wants, which might give him that extra advantage right at the end when he needs it, and then he might be able to grab all 3 of these positions. Right as
Robbie and Raphael going wheel to wheel as well through sector 2, both on the medium tyres. Robbie started on them, Raphael put them on at the safety car, so they're only 2 laps younger.
Pavel's
but they
dropped out of the DRS as Greg pits early.
Ooh, Greg going for that undercut, that aggressive strategy, thinking he can maybe get 20 laps in on the mediums, or is he going to put a set of hards on and really spend this battery that he's saved up for these first couple of laps and try and jump these guys? It is mediums, so he's going to be looking to use the pace of brand new rubber and see how many positions he can gain. I would expect somebody, at least, if not all 3 of them, to react to this and pit on the next lap. As Tuca is within a tenth of George.
Raphael and Robbie as Robbie gets his elbows there and manages to keep the position. So Raphael, it seems like he's just these 2 are just, you know, stuck in their own fight, separated from the front 3 as Robbie gets a 3-second time penalty. And Pavel's really dropped back now, as he spent all of his battery and
he spent all of his tyres fighting Tuca.
I think he's going to need to pick this lap, ideally.
Yeah.
As Tuca
and George continue. Pavel absolutely needs to come in.
But I would have pitted if I was Pavel, as his pace seems to be falling off a cliff.
Yeah, Tuca takes the lead, but George is going to have the DRS down into the Cedar del Lago, and he's going to be looking to fight back.
Tuca gets better runs through the center S and got another 3 seconds. And Tuca's able to keep the lead.
On the center S, yeah. But all this is playing into Greg's hands. He's now had a full lap on those medium tyres, and he's going to get another one just to see if he can catch these guys. For reference, Tuca's last lap was an 11.2, George an 11.6, Pavel a 12.6, and Greg did a 25.3, but that was with the first sector, which was 15 seconds slower, so he was like in the 10, so he's gained about a second on these guys.
Just having a look at what tyres everyone's still on. Obviously, we have everyone from 4th to 8th on mediums, with only David and Greg probably going to the end, as Cody, Raphael, and Robbie will need to pit, as Tuka and Georgios have both came in at the same time.
That's just Pavel.
And
So we're going to have a duel in the pit lane here between Aston Martin and Mercedes.
so right next to each other as well, so whoever gets the better stop, it could change the position slightly, but it seems like the Aston Martin crew has just about got in front. I was wondering if Pavel could have held up Tuka there slightly and caused a bit of an issue, but seems all good as we now have a
Greg is just coming through turn 2, and Greg's rounding Curva del Sol just as these guys are actually in the pit lane. And I think he's going to split them, but he's going to have more speed here than Tuka. He's going to try and make a move probably into Desida de Lago. Tuka goes defensive, manages to hold the position. But this has jumped Greg 2 places. He's jumped George and Pavel. And he's now going to get a run at Tuka possibly. His tyres are going to be at temperature. He's had a couple of laps on these to get used to them, which Tuka hasn't had. As they now lap the ghosted car of Sven.
Seems like just slightly off there for Greg if he had a bit more time, but the clouds are very dark.
Hello.
Here.
Oh, no, please bring weather into this. Please bring weather into this. It will be chaos.
This could change. This could be Robbie and
Raphael.
Raphael
And Robbie is still running, yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They are probably praying for rain right
Raphael's good for probably another 6 or 7 laps on those mediums. Robbie may be slightly less. Yeah, but Robbie's made a move. And we just saw a Red Bull push Mercedes wide in turn 2. And Greg's made it past Tuco into turn 1 as well. But we did just see a Red Bull push a Mercedes wide in turn 2. And then the Mercedes gets to run into 4. And the Red Bull actually keeps it on the track. Nice to see.
Side by side, not quite.
Raphael's just in front, and he's going to take that lead there through into Ferradura and Larahanya.
This fighting isn't ideal because if there is rain on the way,
yeah.
Oh, and there was that. Yes, it's raining. There's I just saw 3 spots. Yeah.
Ooh.
There's spots of rain coming down there.
Ooh. These guys at the front, these 2 at the front, do not. Well, yeah, I can see some rain.
Yeah.
It's starting to spit. These guys at the front do not lose time to the guys behind. They're on much fresher tyres. They'll do much better on a greasy track until it's the crossover point for the intermediates.
They're going to need to really, if anything, stop fighting each other.
Yeah,
Raphael
they need to
Robbie,
work
as
together.
Raphael's in.
Raphael's in. That's early. It might pay off, but that's very early.
What time? He's going
another set of mediums.
Ah. So does he think that this rain's not going to get heavy enough?
I mean, he's going to have to pit again anyway because he hasn't used 2 compounds. But we've also got Pavel and Cody and Jacob in. And Pavel's on inters. Pavel is making that jump and going on the intermediate tyres.
I've just realised Cody. Raphael started on softs. So because he had to pit early on for medium. So he's fine. So maybe if this rain isn't going to get heavier.
Yeah, but Pavel, Cody and Jacob have all put the intermediates on. Paolo's in as well. We'll look to see what compound the Williams guys decide on.
I still think it seems very early.
It's very early for intermediates. I'd have done at least 1 more lap. As Lassie does. Lassie carries on, which jumps Paolo.
I think Robbie's going to have to pit this lap because of his tyre wear, but I think with Tuka, Georgios and Greg, they should just stay out.
His tyres seem alright. I don't see any sort of issue with them. And yeah, he stays out another lap, so he's decided it's definitely not wet enough. But Tuka's going to get a run at him into turn 1. Robbie's going to fight this, and there's contact wheel to wheel. But Tuka takes the lead through turn 2.
Robbie's got the better exit with DRS as well.
And there's a spin as well. So those intermediates not working out for Pavel as he's all over the road.
And Georgios has just sent it up the inside of both of them. Ha! I did not see that. And then Greg side by side with Robbie right behind.
Greg sends it as well. So Robbie's really struggling now with those 1 tyres.
I think
these guys on brand new mediums
trying to push Robbie a bit wide to just get the position into the corner, and Georgios just saw the gap and just thought, I'll take it. Just went straight up the inside and made a lovely move there.
Pavel pits again. So that's 2 laps in a row now. Pavel's pit, and he's putting another
Yeah,
set of
he's got
inters on.
damage,
Yeah, he took front wind damage. He didn't look after those intermediate
I'm
tyres.
interested to see are they pitting now or... Okay, yeah, they're staying out for one more, which I thought they
Still
would.
not wetting up. But Tuka's going to take a run at George here, and they're going to be side by side into turn 1.
He's made the move stick well before the
Tuka
turn,
makes
so...
I think George is happy for Tuka to take the lead into turn 1 and give him DRS down into Deciduous Lago.
They're swapping
seems to get a good run down there.
consistently heroes. I think this is just how it's going to go. Every lap has what's going to
George,
go.
and he gets down the inside and breaks a
yeah.
bit later and forces Tuka a little bit wide.
Greg almost had to look there as well. As Tuka's got a run on George, but obviously he's not going to go for that move as it'd be too risky. As I don't think the rain's getting heavy enough.
Well, it will eventually. It is Brazil.
We had a in Sector 1 it still looks bone dry, like there's barely any rain. Sector 2 there's a bit more, but I don't see it for like another 2 laps potentially.
All these front guys now have just lapped Paolo and Pavel. These guys are going to have to stick it out on these intermediate tyres and hope the guys at the front all pit so that they can get back on the lead lap. Because if there's a safety car right now, that puts them a lap behind the field. Because there's no coding in the game to let lap cars through.
Robbie's still
George
managed
George has managed to build a big enough gap. George has managed to build a big enough gap so Tuka doesn't get a run at him this time into turn 1. But that's going to give Tuka the run this time into Deciduous Lago. As Greg and Robbie are both hanging onto their DRS. Robbie's doing very well on those tyres. They're very old. I think he's waiting for the rain to get heavy enough.
Yeah.
Because then all 4 of these guys are going to have to pit for the inters if the rain gets heavier.
I'm interested to know if, say, Robbie's talking to Jeff, who we know is very reliable, to see if, you know, if this rain is going to stay off or it's going to come down heavier as he... Oh, and he spun!
Oh,
was that...
Commentator's curse.
That's not ideal. I was just going to say, if he's potentially going to swap to softs, I was thinking, as if the rain doesn't come heavy enough, softs on a...
Yeah, I think that would have been his initial idea. Yeah, brand new softs on a greasy track, they keep temperature a lot better. So these mediums, especially those of his that are 22 laps old, they'll just be bleeding temperature.
Yeah.
And it's going to make traction very difficult. There's not going to be a huge amount of rubber depth on them anyway, as Cody pits off the softs. So I think Cody's tried it on the pits onto softs, sorry. So I think Cody's tried it on the intermediates and decided that it isn't going to get wet enough. So he's going to stick with the dry tyres.
Okay, we've a lot of traction being lost there as George Ossetti spins and so does Greg, which puts them outside the DRS's 2K, which means I think it's now getting close to the crossover point as the rain's now heavier in Sector 1, which it wasn't a few laps ago, but
David
still
pits.
could be a lap.
David Power pits, and he's going on to softs. And he has
like
a new front wing. So he's banking on his own ability to keep the car on the track with the heat by having tyres that basically keep the heat in themselves.
This rain's getting heavier. Sector 2 does more drops falling.
Yeah,
so...
and he's inside Paolo coming out of the pit lane. But Paolo's going to have to cede that on exit as he is a lap down. And David gets a bit squirrely on the exit of the pits as well. So those softs on a greasy track, they are the best choice for a slick tyre. But if it gets much heavier, they're going to have to swap to inters.
Which wouldn't be ideal, which would show that obviously if they had to pull the trigger too early, I would have committed on the inters potentially with how it's going now. Was the rain's not backed off yet, still not quite heavy enough for inters, but it's getting closer.
I think if I was at the back, I think I'd have maybe waited a lap or two and then gone for it before anybody else did. Or before most people did.
Yeah.
So I don't blame the guys that were in sort of, 10th, 11th, 12th place, because if you lose, you don't lose a lot or anything. If you're outside the... Oh, George has lost it! George has gone. George has gone through Deciduous Lago.
Will that trigger a safety car? Surely you've got to pit for inters.
Safety car. And yeah, I imagine everybody's going to come in for inters now.
There's been some sort of collision there as Cody has hit Greg, and Cody's a lap down.
Ooh.
So I'm not sure what's gone on there. As we had Jacob in the Ferrari going slow. Greg went to go around the outside of him, and then Cody just came alongside and hit into Greg.
Yeah, this is Red Bull plans. Go a lap down and then bin somebody else out so your teammate can win.
As we have Lassie swapping onto fresh softs. I want to
Wow.
know what the front runners are going to do. I feel like we could see a
Looking
very
at,
split
looking
strategy.
At the track, yeah, looking at the track, I personally would go into
Oh
mediums.
yeah, because how I'd go
that
into
track
there.
looks wet. The track looks wet. And I know they haven't disabled DRS yet,
Tuca's not
but I
pitted.
imagine they will.
Tuca
I
hasn't
imagine
pitted.
DRS... Ooh.
Hold up.
I imagine... Greg has.
And
Greg's
he's
in.
heading to the pit as well.
Oh.
What calls Greg going to go for? It's...
And as a pole,
that...
Greg uses kilometers an hour, so he has no choice.
Is it softs or...
So he's serving a 5-second penalty here. But that won't be the speed of the pit lane one. It's gone softs.
And
So
we
he
have a
doesn't think
double
it's
stack
wet enough
from
either.
Red Bull with Robbie, who's in third, getting held up by his teammate as Raphael behind's going inters. And Robbie, he's going to go for inters as well.
Yeah, they have. I mean, they have changed the coding, so a double stack's not quite as penalising as it used to be. So yeah, so we've got Raphael and Robbie in third and fourth on intermediate tyres. Greg in second on brand new softs, so they're going to be very quick if the tyre stays, you know, sort of dry.
Yeah.
And Tuca's at the front on those 7-lap-old mediums, but mediums will do.
Yeah, I was going to say the
somewhere
mediums
in
are
the
not
20s
going
here.
to be very... I think Tuca has to pit.
They will do somewhere in the 20s, but the problem Tuca's got is if he pits, that's probably going to drop him behind Greg.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody else as well. I mean, he's got a decent lead, but he's been bunched by the safety car now. The safety car has captured him, as well as Jacob, who's a lap down.
I don't
So,
think these
he's gonna
mediums
be
and
losing
Tuca are going
time
to be any very effective, as...
He's done this before, though. He did this
True.
in PC1 in Mexico last week. Everybody else pit, he didn't. And stayed near the front. I managed to get a really good result out of it. Sorry,
the track is
Australia
completely
last week.
soaked now as Tuca. Yeah, Tuca's come in. I think he's made a mistake by not going in as Greg's got a 3-second time penalty under safety car.
Jacob's in as well.
He's committing to his
Jacob gets
softs.
5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane.
But
So
Tuca's gone into, so Greg, the only one other than Cody, committing to
Tuca's
the
on
softs.
hards.
Wait, Tuca's
on hards.
Wait, what? I swear
Tuca's on
his
hards.
mechanics are just holding inters. Hold
Yeah,
on.
they're white. You're colourblind. And he's almost sideways in the pit lane.
We're gonna
That's
see
a mistake from Tuca.
some form
Is that
of-
the first one of the season? Oh no, he forgot to put his setup on in Hungary. So it's the second mistake of the season from Tuca. And it might cost him a podium.
I think it will. I mean, if he can get I don't think he's going to get around quick enough under safety car to not drop to like 7th here.
Yeah, the safety car's only now coming through Ferradura and La Regina. So it's going to bunch them all up, which means as soon as Tuca hits the back of that train, he's stuck at safety car speed. He doesn't just have the catch the safety car message. So it's going to drop him a fair distance backwards.
The order's completely... With how many cars have been lapped, it's just completely
Yeah,
shaking
there's lots of
things
cars
up.
in the middle of it. Personally, for me, if I'd have been lapped at this point, I would have carried on when the leaders pit.
Yeah.
Try and get back on that lead lap, and then you pit when they're behind safety car and are less likely to lap you again. As long as you can get past the safety car before it picks up the leaders, then you can get back on that lead lap and you can speed around and get your pit in and stay on that lead lap and get on the back of the train instead of being in the middle of the train a lap down. Because the rules in ERO are if you are a lap down and you get blue flags on a safety car restart, you have to pull to the side and let the entire field pass you so you're not influencing the race.
Tuca obviously comes in off of
comes
the
in,
hard.
Yeah. Tuca's realised he's made a mistake. I think he's probably been messing with his heads-up display for that.
No, he's on the
And
inters.
He's
So
selected the wrong tyre.
he's on the correct tyre now that he wanted to be on, and what I thought he was on originally, but...
Yeah, but this is going to have to involve a charge through the field. The safety car will be in this lap. This is the third lap of the safety car, which is the maximum it's allowed. So the safety car will be in this lap, and Greg's going to have to try and drive on a wet track on soft tyres. Which might work, probably won't. We might see a Ferrari in a wall.
For Tuca, he hasn't fell behind the AlphaTauri and the Williams and the safety car, otherwise that could have completely put him out of contention if he has to, lap cars straight off the start, and it just caused him to be a bit further behind and just have that slightly extended gap.
But I think our top 6 is probably set unless we get yet another safety car, because last year's the last car on the lead lap. So he's going to catch up to the back of the train here. He's just coming through to see the Delago as the safety car's in the middle of the circuit.
Oh, Greg's lost
So
it. Greg's onto the grass.
On the
And
safety car?
He's come back on. And
Unsafely.
And
Raphael
Pavel's
takes
also
the lead.
lost it.
Whoa. Pavel's on Inters.
No, safety car's coming
Safety car is in, so Raphael's going to have the lead here, but he's got a lapped car behind him. He's got Jacob behind him. And then Robbie. So if Raphael can get a good jump here, on those brand new intermediate tyres, it's going to be a massive gap he's going to get. He's already got 7 tenths over Robbie because of that Ferrari in the middle, so if he can get a decent jump here...
Pavel's just overtaking everyone?
Yeah, not allowed to do that.
And he's also given Jacob a collision from doing that. Yeah. And Pavel's now just ghosted because obviously he's been... I've got not a clue what's happened there. But what I can say is Raphael's got a 1.5 second lead already with all this confusion that is happening on the restart.
And he's currently ghosting in and out of Jacob because Jacob's not wanting him to slow down.
And now he's had a penalty for a severe collision with Jacob.
I think Jacob is trying to unlap himself, and he's got a better to the Delago, so he's trying to get back on that lead lap.
Pavel's been taken out by a ghosted. Pavel was ghosted, goes to overtake Lassie, and it's just destroyed his car.
Oh, that's crazy. But in the midst of all of that, David and Tuka are right on the back of Robbie now. So Robbie's going to have to defend for his life as Tuka tries down the inside in Vico de Pato. David's wise to it, holds the outside line, gets a better exit, run through Magulio and into Junsao. And obviously no DRS in these conditions. I'm pretty sure it's been disabled, but I haven't seen the message. But it won't be turned on for 2 laps anyway. And a 3-second penalty for Jacob. As he goes very inside.
I was going to say
but I think he's missed the pit lane.
Yeah, there was... I just saw a front wing end plate just go flying off, so...
Yeah.
I think that was
he
off
was aiming
Jacob's
for the pits,
car.
he missed.
Jacob's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, missing front wing in wet conditions is very difficult. And he's dropped now behind Paolo. As Raphael now leads by 1.8 seconds, but David's looking at Robbie and trying to make a move into the Lago, but everybody runs wide here.
Yeah, obviously.
Jacob's 3 car widths off the track, trying to get around the outside of Paolo, and Paolo's just holding his position, just defending through the middle of the track, and Jacob's significantly wide again.
David went for a move on
with that front wing damage.
Robbie, and Tuka's now around the outside of him as Robbie managed to just about defend the move as Tuka's gone for a massive dive. Tuka
tries into Vico de Pato, but David's going to cut back at him with a move through Magulio. Great bit of racing from these two. David's not going to let this position go without a fight, but this is letting Robbie and Raphael get away. Raphael's 3.2 seconds ahead of this fight.
I'm not sure if Tuka knows that Raphael has a penalty. Obviously, he knows the two in front of him do, but he can't see.
Robbie does. Raphael doesn't.
If Raphael has a penalty or not. And, well, we've got Lassie who's 3 seconds behind. He was slightly catching up while those lot were fighting, but doesn't seem to be able to match the pace. His only real
competition from behind is Greg, because everybody else is at least a lap down.
And he's losing 5 seconds to lap.
Yeah, he's 12 seconds behind Lassie on those
and
tyres.
Safety car.
Not being the right call. Whoa.
Jacob.
So that kind of bails Greg out. Yeah, that bails Greg out because Greg can. So he's bailed out by his teammate. Have we got Crashgate in PC2? Greg gets bailed out by his teammate so he can put those intermediates on and not lose position. And he's going to have slightly fresher inters than everybody else.
Cody
gets a drive through for speeding. But he's already last, but you can't serve that under safety car. So he's going to be very last.
This could
basically comes to a stop in the center races.
It's going to cause either 1 or 2 lap shootout right at the end for just to see.
I mean, you've got a maximum of 3. These guys are on lap 31, so probably a 3-lap shootout, I would imagine.
Yeah.
34, 35, 36.
And we have Tuka.
Nobody at the front's going to pit. These guys on the intermediates aren't going to pit. Greg is to get off those soft tyres and onto the intermediates, which he made the. He made a bold strategy call to try and win the race, but it was the wrong one. So he made a mistake with his tyre choice. and it's not gonna cost him positions because, like I say, he is a lap ahead of the guy behind of Paolo, and with none of these guys at the front pitting, it doesn't give anybody the opportunity to unlap themselves.
I was going to
But
say,
we only have 9 runners, so you can finish a lap down and still score points.
yeah.
You can still score 6 points finishing
I was
a lap
gonna,
down.
I was
If
gonna
you're
say
in
that-
front of all the other guys that are a lap down, you can get 6 points, which is hilarious.
I was going to say that the front
And the
four
safety car's now picked up Raphael and Robbie and David and Tuka, and Lassie's just linking up to the back of the train.
I was going to say that the front four, with no lap cars in the way this time, so hopefully there's not going to be any confusion under the start of the safety car. And well, we're going to see a quick 3 or 4 lap shootout here to the end. All on pretty much an equal lap on their tyres, except for Tuka, who's got the slight advantage. But considering how little the wear is here on Inters, I don't think it's going to make a difference at all. And obviously Robbie and David with the penalties at the moment, not ideal for them, but they shouldn't drop back too many places, as a lot of the cars behind are a lap down, as Paolo taking a trip, taking a scenic route there onto the grass, and all waiting for now is Greg and Cody to catch up, and then we will be underway again. So if they do that on this next lap that the safety cars just started, then it means we will have a 3-lap race to the end. As Greg, obviously on fresh inters, could make a bit of an impact, but I'd say with his tyres currently, there's not really much that he's going to be able to do. Obviously, he's got his penalty, and well, with a few cars in front of him do have penalties, but unless he's going to pass them, which are Robbie and David, who are a few places in front of him, I don't think he's particularly going to be able to do much. So I think it's a fight really. Tuka's going to need to immediately get through the 2 cars in front of him of David and Robbie, as Raphael completely cleaned this race with no penalties so far, which means that he's got the significant advantage here going into this final restart, which is not going to be this lap, I don't think, unless the safety car is going to call it last second. I think it's too late now for the safety car to call one, and no, it's not. So the safety car is in this lap, which is means Raphael's going to really have to slow things down. But luckily for him, there's not too many cars behind him, so we'll see when he's going to go for the run. And he's gone now, and he's caught Robbie just a bit, but it's not going to make much of a difference, as we have David and Tuka behind. Tuka's going to go around the outside, but David sends it up the inside on Robbie. Tuka's still on the outside of Robbie as well. Is he going to get overtaken twice, as he's going off track there, as Tuka had poor traction? But here we have Lasse coming up the inside of Robbie, and Robbie's lost 3 places, but he's going to fight it back into the next corner here, and he's managed to make the move stick on Robbie, and Tuka's managed to get up to 3rd, as we have behind Robbie so spun it, which allows Greg to get past him as well. That's not what he wanted here right at the end, as he resets the track, but realistically it doesn't matter. He's got no one in contention with him now, but the front 4 all still very close, and with Tuka and Lasse having no penalties, they could really be in a prime spot here if they can get past David to challenge Raphael for the win. But Raphael's just going to be thinking about keeping it on the track, as Tuka loses traction. He's fighting the car, but he's managed to keep it stable just about, and now he's got to run on David. Going just across the line into turn 1. Will he be able to get the move done, or is he not going to go for the dive? And he's left it as David goes a little late on the braking, which allows Tuka to make a cut back, where he's almost lost it there. Going through the corner as he says, allowing Raphael to just about get the lead. They need to extend with just 2 laps to go here. And Tuka's going to go for the diver in the outside, but he's not going to be able to make that stick. Or is he? He's going off the track. Will the game tell him to give the position back there to David, as he did overtake off track? And yes, he has let David back through. And Lassay's not quite managing to keep up, as Greg's managing to catch up to Lassay. And Tuka's gone for the dive. And he's made the move now, but he's got 1.6, 1.7 the gap to Raphael to see if he can make the move. But he's locked up, which is going to allow David to have a look, but he's not going to go for the move. And you'd think now Raphael being 1.8 ahead has surely got this race win sorted.
Sorry. Did everything kick off on the restart?
Quite a lot has happened as Tuka's now 2 seconds behind, so Raphael's managing to extend his lead, and it looks like with a 2-second gap he should be able to hold this for the last lap, as DRS has now been enabled on the final lap.
Well, Lassie gets down, manages to defend from Greg on the inside, but if DRS is now enabled, that's going to give Greg
the
DRS.
track has gone from soaking wet to bone dry.
Whoa,
and Lassay's gone. Lassay's got in the back lane of the fight out front, as David's now going for a move on the outside of Tuka. They're still side by side, but he's not quite able to get that move. Tuka's losing traction out the corner, and here comes David up the inside. No, he doesn't quite get that move, but he's going to...
Yeah, but he could have a run here.
Doesn't go for the dive. Bit of contact. And David's got a better traction, it seems.
Trying to go around the outside of Ferrigno.
Tracks.
He's going to spend a bit of ERS, but they're going to just all dump their battery on the run to the line here. David manages to get in front through Bica de Pato, and he's going to hold it through Magulo, because there isn't really a way you can overtake there.
Tuka's almost pushing in first. Greg in the background's off the track, but now it's just a battle of who can get the best run out of here. Tuka's trying to just keep his car stable. He's got the run on David, and obviously with DRS, can he get the move up to the line? Obviously, David's got a penalty, but if it got removed, and he's managed to make the move stick.
Ping the battery. Raphael wins for Mercedes. Mercedes' first win in the PC division at all this year.
And they've got it right as the season dies out.
Yeah, so I mean, it finished on a high. Tuka just grabs David on the line for P2, knocking David down into P3, which, after starting last, is still a good result.
Yeah.
And Greg makes it into P4 for Ferrari. And yeah, of course, David Power gets the driver of the day.
Yeah.
Could have been P2, was P3. He might get lose a position on penalties. I don't think so, because I believe Greg had penalties as well.
And that concludes our final race.
Season 6 of Ero Pc2. With Tuka as champion, after he's had a slightly ridiculous season. Let's be totally honest. And he's, for some reason, changed his flag to Portugal. Oh, it's got it wrong. Oh, no, wait. Hang on. Raphael's Portuguese. Yeah, I'm so used to seeing Tuka on the top step. I was like, wait, why is that a Portuguese flag?
I was going to say, well, no, it is great.
But yeah, Raphael wins from Tuka. Gap of 3.1 seconds in the end, up fighting behind. Really helped him pull away. And then, yeah, David, with that 3-second time penalty, finishes P3. Because Greg had 8 seconds worth of penalties. So he gets P4. And even if he gets those 5 seconds removed, which I'm not sure what they were for, they may have been contacting the safety car, he will still be P4. Lassie gets P5, who had no penalties. So even after that spin, he still manages to finish in P5. With Robbie P6, the last guy on the lead lap.
Well,
which sounds dumb on its own. Paolo P7, Cody P8, and Sven disconnected. So doesn't get points anyway.
Yeah.
So we're only going to have points down to P8, which is how it works. So nobody's getting less than 4. Yeah. But a win for Mercedes and Raphael at the end of the season. That's... I mean, it had to happen at some point, right? Mercedes had to win a race somewhere.
still think it's unfortunate that you disconnected right as the restart is going to happen, because that was
Yeah, I know.
a crazy last restart. Everything just kicked off, and that was one way to end a race.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see if anybody wants to come in and chat with us. They may do, they may not.
Can have a.
We can. I mean, it's the end of the season. We can talk about the season as a whole, about the race, that kind of thing. Raphael says he doesn't have much time, but that doesn't say whether it's a yes or a no.
How long does it take?
Yeah, like how long's a piece of string, dude? David's up for it, so let me jump. Let me jump in a channel. Okay, Raphael says he has to leave in 10-15 minutes, so we can talk to Raphael first. That's fine. So let me find. Okay, so I'm going to jump into talking to.
Right. Right, I've moved myself in. Are we getting?
Drag you, and then it was like, it's too far away! Oh, okay, never mind.
it's all right.
Wow, that was. I mean, that was Brazil, right? There's no other way to put it. That was just how Brazil go.
Complete chaos at.
There's always some shit kicks off. Yeah, this is why people loved it as like the final season race in real life F1. Because if it's like it's a case of this weekend, we've got Lewis and Max obviously squaring up for the championship, and it's like whoever wins. So you know the race could go a few different ways, but it's Abu Dhabi, so there's an element of predictability about it. Whereas Brazil, it's literally like if you get before a Brazilian Grand Prix and want to know what the race is doing, you may as well ask a Magic 8 Ball, because anything could happen in Brazil. Remember, obviously you've got 2008, you've got the 2007, where Lewis's gearbox decided it didn't like him on the first lap, and Kimi from nowhere managed to win. You've got, I think it's 2012, where Sebastian fought back from last place on the first lap in order to secure enough points to win the title ahead of Fernando Alonso. There's just so much random shit happens at Brazil.
Yeah.
That's why it's a really good final race, because it's like, oh well, yeah, I mean, I win if I finish fourth, right? It's like, yeah, but are you gonna finish fourth? You have no idea.
Yeah. It's sad that they had to replace it in real life with Abu Dhabi, because Abu Dhabi's racing.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, Abu Dhabi's not a terrible track. It's not like
awful,
somewhere you just can't overtake. And I mean, the changes they made, maybe they'll make it a bit better.
It,
We're not sure,
it just doesn't
we
have the
haven't
same
seen it in
feeling
a race.
as going to Interlagos for
Yeah,
the final
I
race.
think part of that. I think a big part of that though, as well, is like the history of final races that Interlagos has.
Yeah.
So I think it sort of built that itself. It's not a case of like, oh well, we have to go because it's Brazil or because the track's awesome or whatever. I mean, the track is awesome, but that's not the thing that makes really good races. I mean, everyone looked at Jeddah and went, well, "That race is going to be crap," and then it was mental.
Yeah. I don't think we're getting anyone in. So.
Guys.
Okay.
David said yes. Raphael said yes, but I have to leave soon, and they've just abandoned us. And I mean, Tuka's finished, so he's not going to talk anyway. It'd be like having Kimi Räikkönen in here. It's like, how do you feel about being champion? Like, it was good. Oh, cheers, Tuka.
Okay. Yeah.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
Raphael says he's ready. Just tell him to join.
Yeah. Why are you muted? You shouldn't be muted, Raphael. That doesn't help. Hello! Excellent! Well, congratulations, winning the final race of the season. Mercedes'
Thank you,
first
mate.
win in the PC, because me and Jackie are terrible in PC1.
Yeah, it took a while for me to get a win in the Ero.
Just surviving the chaos, man.
Yeah.
It's how you profit at Brazil. Survive everything else that goes wrong.
I was sent to Brazil so many times, I got used to it.
Oh, that was such a good race. That was so ridiculous.
Yeah, there was some good fights. And with the Red Bull, with Robbie.
Yeah, I mean,
Then-
we made comments on that. It's like, Mercedes gets forced wide on turn 2 by a Red Bull. Where have you seen this before?
It was on turn 4.
Well, yeah, it did turn 2 as well.
Yeah. It was some fine battles. There was a bit of a sketchy moment, but I think it was ahead enough to justify that. Yeah, then strategy
maybe.
split because on the forecast it said it will stop rain before the end of the race. So I thought, well, I can do medium, not up on intermediates, and then DRS only gets enabled on the last lap. So Jeff,
I can't believe that you trusted Jeff and it worked.
yeah, it was a Jeff because on the first rain safety car, on the first safety car after the rain. I was about to go through the pit entry, and then I heard Jeff has a new strategy, and I'm gonna trust Jeff just for these ones, and then I immediately started regretting it because the Ferrari didn't pit, and still didn't pit, and then the Aston Martin eventually pitted. And then before the safety car restart, because I had the first place ahead and I have 2 back markers, and then immediately
it just gives you a gap.
They all spin.
Yeah, it was a bit crazy. Yeah, so the safety car came out under rain, and Tuca decided to pit and put hards on, which must have been an error. He must have selected the wrong tires on the MFD. And Greg pit and put brand new softs on, and we went, that's a risk. Which didn't pay off, but I mean, it could have done. He could have been totally rapid.
Yeah,
but
because
I took the safe option, put the inters on, and I mean, we were looking at it going, yeah, this looks like inters. This track is inters. They're starting to form little.
I started panicking when I pitted, and then Robbie did not for like 5 laps, and I was like, did I make a big mistake?
Yeah, he was just following whatever the leaders were doing, because obviously he was able to justify keeping their DRS. So I think his plan was to just copy them, as if he could have, then he would just stick with them. But
it would be a sketch to pull the medium, so I started to get panic. I think he knows it's gonna rain, and I think he knows strategy better than me. But then the safety car came out, and immediately his plan paid off because he was now ahead. But then he pitted during the safety car queue, so I think I got back. Yeah, and then survive the rain.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you kind of got bailed out as well by some of the guys that decided to pit like far too early, and obviously with all the DNFs and things like that.
Yeah, I pitted for mediums, and then I saw
it didn't matter what you did so much because you couldn't go lower than 6th. Because there was only 6 people on the lead lap. You'd have had to go a lap down to go below 6th. So you could risk a little bit of a gamble and things, which I think some people tried.
Ferrari immediately. Sorry for cutting you. But on the first restart, like the back marker, Ferrari immediately going faster than me, and I was like, "No, this isn't how it works."
Yeah, like at that point, you made the right call. Just let him go. Just let him do what he wants. He's still most of a lap down.
Yeah, because it was chaos. Like I pitted for mediums, and at the same time, I think it was just about to begin raining. Lots of people pitted for heaters, and
when you pit for inters, like at the start for medium, when the rain started falling, I was surprised because I was Raphael's in, so this will be inters. And then saw that your guys weren't holding inters, and I was a bit like, oh, this is different. And then I personally would have expected if you weren't going to go with the inters, if you didn't think it was wet enough, which it didn't look wet enough, but it's obviously different driving it just to watching. I would have expected soft tires because they do a lot better in sort of greasy, damp conditions. But you kept it on track, made it work. Won, so you can't really complain about winning.
Yeah, as I said, the forecast was 5 ticks of clouds, or slight overcast, slight, I don't know, by that English. Then 1 tick of rain, and then no rain again.
Okay.
So I imagine that it wouldn't be rainy enough to matter. So my plan was, okay, I got wing damage at the beginning, the safety car, I'm on mediums. Tyrell felt good to do mediums, and then I stick to it, but then it started getting crazy rain.
Yeah.
And actually,
it is into Lagos.
Yeah, actually, on the safety car, I started going like, yeah, I shouldn't have pit, I should have, but then...
It was the right call, because the guys that stayed on dry tyres were all over the road.
Yeah.
And I hope if you were watching the stream, I hope we didn't butcher too much of the Portuguese with the corner names. Probably did, because I barely speak English.
I was not watching the stream, I was racing.
You can do both, multitask. I know some people do, which freaks me out.
I don't know how people can manage.
No, I once had an engineer to do that for me, but no, he's not available.
Oh, wait, you had engineer? I don't get engineers. That's bullshit.
He kept me company.
I'm Mercedes PC1. I don't get engineers. That's not fair at all.
Yeah, I also got to be the. I don't know how the constructors are looking, but it would be nice for us to get out of the last.
So it's a lot of points. Like I was saying this to Luke when between you and George, you were second.
Yeah,
and
George
fifth,
was ahead, and then
many points.
And then he spun, and I got like, it's sad to finish last race of the season, and he's backwards.
Yeah, I mean, second and fifth, we were talking. It's like if you're second and fifth, and you're one of the top 2 teams in the constructors, that's kind of the points you expect to earn. And it's not going to close gaps in too much and things like that, because obviously the gaps between the positions are so much higher at the top. But when you're sort of 8th, 9th, 10th place in the constructors, the points you get for second and fifth are 28 points. That's massive. That might be half of what you've earned the rest of the season.
Yes, that's true. The season
or
was
more. I think that's more than what me and Jackie have got this season.
I don't know. The season was a bit off. My seasons are usually like this. Like I start okay, then it goes downhill. But then I usually come back during the end of the season, like on AOR, on my second or third season of AOR, my second last before leaving. Or my third last, I don't remember. I won a race at the last race of the season. I have total of 3 league races now. One of them was on penalty reduction. The other 2 were on the last race of the season. So
it's 3 more than me. So you're doing better than I am. I have 1 podium. Yeah, because I am slow, and they keep putting me in PC1 because they hate me.
I can say that.
Just mean I get to watch PC2 and go, holy shit, what is this?
I can say that Mercedes are now ahead of Alpine in the constructors with the form in the last few races, and Alpine not managing to get in the points very often. So
yeah, Alpine have been a bit up and down. I think Michael's had to work a fair bit, so they've been missing a driver. And Pavel's had some really, really strong races. Like his pace seems really good, but his strategy calls.
We had a sub that scored big points when I wasn't here, so
that's cheating.
Well, the back on the race, like the last safety car, it wasn't on my favorite bike.
Yeah,
I
might just not turn up tomorrow so I can have Tuca in my car.
I had Robbie behind I know not to like roast him or anything. Like I'm as slow as he is compared to the fast guys, I feel. So he was kind of a shield to me. Then on the safety, on the second safety car, he lost a bit of time.
Yeah, I think weirdly, considering we only have 2 PC divisions, you'd expect them to be quite even. You expect to have a fair amount, like a chunk of guys in the middle that were sort of split across the divisions, and then some guys that were significantly slower and some that are significantly faster. So obviously the significantly faster guys are the guys like Tom and Mateus and things like that in PC1 that are just alien. And now, a lap and a half fast, a second and a half faster a lap. And then you would expect that in PC2 as well.
I started
but PC2 seems very close. basically up and down the field, you might have a couple of drivers that are a bit off the pace, but up and down the field, it seems very close compared to PC1, where you've got that 3 and 4 that are just nuts.
Yes, there was a guy that joined mid-season and won everything.
Yeah, I mean, Tuka. Yeah, I mean, you had the guys at the start, like Luke, who then got promoted to PC1 because they were too fast, and then Nathan came in, who got promoted to PC1 because he was too fast, and then Tuka came in, and it was like, well, it's kind of too late to promote him now, but he's too fast. So it was a bit all over the place, really, this season.
I started panicking because I was getting off. They were catching me. Luckily, they were fighting behind, so I got some time and I managed to escape.
Yeah, you had quite a big gap at the end. You could have even had a corner cut penalty and still won. So, because there was a titanic fight going on behind you between David and Tuka.
Yeah.
For probably a lap and a half, they were essentially side by side or pushing each other through corners.
Yeah. I'm sorry to bother, but I'm running low on time. I really got to go.
No, that's fine, man.
That's
if you need to go, that's totally cool. Everyone else has ducked out and decided they didn't want to talk.
It's all right.
So we will see you in season 7, I presume.
Yeah, I'll need to check with my schedule because this end of the season was kind of hard because I had to miss a lot of races.
Yeah. Oh, David's arrived.
Hello,
that was
David.
timing. So
I'm gonna leave
season
you
7. Yeah, no, that's cool, Raphael, man. Thanks for joining, and congratulations today on the win and bringing in big points for Mercedes. More points than I've ever earned.
Goodbye.
See you, man. That was a titanic fight with Tuka at the end, David. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, it really was. I don't really know what's happening, but we're like going side to side for like a lap or two. Maybe.
Yeah, it was like a lap and a half, and you were just like, "Nope,
Yeah.
I'm not giving up a second. I have penalties, but I'm not giving it up anyway."
Yeah, I thought. I mean, it's the last time. It's the last race for like a month, so
Yeah,
you have to take your opportunities to get some racing.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, season 7 starts at the end of January, like I was going to say to Raphael before he left. So we've got probably like a month and a half now for you to do any practice and things like that. The calendar will get released at the start of January, along with the lineups for who's in what tier. So you hoping or expecting to be in PC2 again, or are you thinking you might be making that jump up to PC1?
I think I will stay in PC2 with my current pace, but I think I have a pretty good consistency, but my pace isn't really there for PC1. But I enjoy driving in PC2 and get some
Some of those
good
guys in
results.
PC1 are aliens. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know. I like drove with Nathan for 3 races, and
Yeah.
and
I
Tuka
mean,
also.
Nathan's pretty good. Tuka's broken. I think Tuka actually is Finbot because he never gets penalties and always finishes races really well.
Yeah, he's always like he can be in P20 and like with his consistency and pace. You can see in the end of the race that he's like P1 or on the podium. I think he's
he's
won so many
He's
races.
an alien. Yeah, he's an alien. So he's definitely in PC1 next year. If he's not, I'm putting my foot down, and he is.
He must have like 80% win percentage this season or something.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously you had the guys at the start. So you said the likes of Luke and Owen that were in at the start, who got promoted because they were too fast. So I think at Bahrain, I think they were something like a second a lap faster in qualifying. And we looked at it and went, yeah, that shouldn't happen. So those guys got promoted. And then obviously Nathan came in and then got promoted because he was too fast. And then Tuka came in, but it was too late in the season to promote him at that point. So we were kind of stuck with it. So we sort of basically had PC2 plus Tuka. Which is why we've sort of invited him to some of the PC1 races later in the season. And he's actually holding his own and doing really, really well in there as well. I think he's got a second and a third in the 2 races he's done. So he should definitely be in PC1. So there's possibly that chance of a title next year in PC2. Obviously without a Tuka. Unless we get, Tuka version 2. or 4 or whatever we're on now. It just comes in
Yeah.
and dominates the division.
Yeah, I thought after Nathan left, I thought, oh, I maybe can have a chance on this title, but then Ryan and Tuki joined, so yeah, those dreams were crushed
Yeah.
pretty fast.
Ryan's quick. Obviously, he wasn't here today with he had a family commitment. Ryan's quick, but he's inconsistent. So there's the ability to then sort of realize you're going to lose some races, play the long game, but take advantage of when there is those mistakes, which you don't really seem to make too much in the way of mistakes, or not serious ones that are going to sort of end your race and things like that, which I think is key in a season sort of the length that we do, where you're looking at sort of 17, 18 rounds. I think consistency is very important, so you don't have to win every race. But obviously, if there is somebody that's winning every race, it kind of puts paid to all those plans.
Yeah, I always think like some risks aren't worth taking if it could like end up in a DNF. So I always drive a bit carefully, but I also race pretty hard. But yeah, I don't. For me, it's more important to like finish the race in the points than maybe to get one position higher that maybe could end my race in a DNF.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more important to take those points for It's not like real life F1 where you've got the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull that are pretty much always going to take those top 4 positions. With everyone being equal cars, it's like you could have a track where you're really strong at, where you sort of fight for the win, and then a track where you're maybe a bit weaker and you might be fighting for 6th or 7th place. But yeah, I think it is important to bank those points when you have the opportunity. And then, obviously, fight as hard as you want in the final race because it sort of doesn't matter anymore. Which is probably why Brazil was chosen as the final race, because it is so... that race was crazy. The race was chaos completely. Start to finish, it was mental. We had 2 DNFs before we got out of Sector 1 on lap 1. Then we had rain appeared. Tuka decided to put hards on. Greg was like, nah, I'll put softs on, it'll be fine. And then it wasn't. And then we had another safety car in rain. And everyone was like, yeah, let's put inters on. And then by the time the safety car came in, it stopped raining. It's like, what is going on? And by the end of the race, I think the track was bone dry. Or looked it anyway.
Yeah, they enabled
I think if anyone had have made like the opposite strategy call, where they'd gone on inters to like initially when the safety car came out in the rain, and then on that second safety car, I think if anyone had been brave enough to put dry tires on, they would have had some incredible pace at the end, I think.
Yeah.
But I suppose it determines, whether it's worth that risk.
So I think that secures P3 and P4 in the drivers. Alfa Romeo.
Woo! So that should be...
just 20 points off of... Well, 18.5 points off of Greg, with obviously last week going to half points.
Yeah. Last week was dumb.
Yeah.
But Maylander was like, I want to drive too! No, you don't. Stay in the pits until we need you, because we will need you.
Yeah,
but you got plenty of running today.
And obviously, I'm not looking at like Discord when I'm driving, so I don't see that it's a red flag. So I'm just continuing on with the race and racing the safety car. And at the end, I think I got like P4 or something. But then, yeah, I see the red flag. So
yeah, I think we had quite a good podium today as well, because obviously it was Raphael's first win this season. You managed to take the win in France with the one-stop strategy, which all sort of combined on the final lap with you, Tuka, your teammate David, and I don't remember who the 4th guy was, Lassie maybe. But you all sort of combined with each other on the final lap, and that was a really, really good race as well. And then obviously we had Tuka, who's been a bit alien. So I think we had a really good podium, and obviously an incredible race to end the season. So looking forward to more of the same in Season 7. I'll probably be on track with you guys, because there's no way I'm fast enough for PC1.
I might be commentating it.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. You and Dino in the box.
Potentially.
Yeah, we'll see. Is it gonna be 2 or 3 PC tiers?
It's planned
It
3 at the
depends on
moment.
sign-ups, yeah. I mean, we planned 3 for Season 6, but then I think we had 46 drivers or something sign up, so there wasn't really enough for PC3. But there is a lot of new names floating around in the Discord, and a lot of reserve drivers that have joined for this season. I think PC2 currently has about 8 reserves. So as long as we can get above sort of that 10 to 12 threshold for PC3, that will exist on a Friday evening for those drivers that aren't quite up to that PC2 pace standard. And obviously with implementing the 50% race in the sign-ups, it's going to give us a better idea of people's pace based on their race. So you don't get people that are just time trial bandits like Ryan, whose times in time trial are like top end of PC1, but he doesn't hook that up in the race. So it's going to give us a better idea of that. And then the people who maybe aren't so great on time trials, but their race pace is really good, it means that we're not going to put them in like, you know, in PC2 or in PC3, and then they're going to dominate the season and have to get moved up almost immediately. The idea is we won't have to move anybody. That's what we want anyway. We don't want to have to move anybody.
Alright,
which is the whole point in putting this in.
I've been told we've got 5 minutes left from the boss before we need to stop. So
tell him to jump off a bridge. it's just because he wants to drive in F2. Lazy. But anyway, so the announcement of the lineups is at the start of January. The 2nd, I believe, might be wrong, which I think is a Sunday. And the racing starts on the the racing for PC1 and F1, which is the Sunday, starts on the 30th of January. So it will be the 29th for PC2 and the 28th for PC3. So it would be great to see who's in what teams. Obviously, there is a part in the signups where you can decide sort of who you want as your teammates, so you can sort of pick your own teams, which is quite cool for the guys that have, you know, friends in the league and things like that and want to race together. Obviously, if you're in the same tier, that's determined on. We're not going to be like, oh, you want to race with this guy that's in PC3? I mean, you're totally PC1 pace, but this is fine. No, that's not how it works. But if you're in the same tier and you nominate someone as your teammate and they nominate you, then you can get put in a team with someone who's a friend. So you can have that sort of chat between teammates and things, which is always useful, always helpful. Try some alternate strategies out, like you pulled off brilliantly in France. Managed to keep the race clean and managed to win. So you managed one victory this season, same as Raphael. Looking for more for next season, I would imagine.
Yeah, hopefully. I think I got at least 4 podiums, so that's something. But looking for more wins.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
But yes, so we will see everybody for the announcement in I think it's about 4 weeks from today, start of January. So after we've got Christmas and New Year out of the way, we're sort of looking at Season 7. There will be the 3 new tracks of Imola, Portimao and Jeddah are on the calendar. I have seen it. I'm not allowed to tell you what it is. But I can tell you that the 3 new tracks are all on the calendar, so we get to race there. We obviously raced at Imola and Portimao this season, but didn't race at Jeddah. So hopefully it's not quite as chaos as the real F1 last week, but hopefully that's a good race as well. Always interesting to see guys go around the new track, see who adapts the fastest. And then the season proper starts at the end of January, and will be, I believe it's 17 rounds again. This season has been, so it's going to take us to the end of the 2021 life cycle until we get to 2022 and the brand new cars, which will be another interesting transition for everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that's about our 5 minutes, Luke, that we've been given.
That's pretty much all we have time for. So thank you everyone for watching this race. Hopefully you enjoyed this season finale here at Brazil. So
if you you don't like racing.
True. It was very, very a lot of action that happened. So
action packed. I mean, it is Brazil. And thank you to Raphael and David for joining us, of course, as well.
Yeah, I'll see you.
I'll see you later, dude. Probably on track next season.
Alright. Alright, thank you for everyone who's tuned in, and